is also spiritual leader and CEO of First Unity Spiritual Campus, a new thought center in St. Petersburg, Florida. She is the founder of the Institution for Leadership and Lifelong Learning International, an internationally recognized speaker, radio host, practicing shamanic healer, and author of several books, including her critically acclaimed books When Did You Die? 8 Steps to Stop Dying Every Day and Start Waking Up. She shares her weekly inspiration with her listeners on the radio show The Intentional Spirit on Unity Online Radio. She spent 13 years as a motivational speaker across the United States with various companies for a variety of clients. Passionate about life rights, gay rights, animal rights, and human rights, Temple has created various movements to both educate and advocate for the voiceless. Some of them are the Global Peace Workers, the Life Rights, the Sophie Project that rescues and rehabilitates dogs and cats, and the Institution for Leadership and Lifelong Learning. Temple is recipient of many awards, like she was nominated as an All-American and elected to National Softball Hall of Fame, elected to Outstanding Young Woman of America, International Who's Who of American Professionals, National Association of Professional Women, the People of Distinction, Humanitarian Awards, and awarded an honorary doctorate degree of Humane Letters. Her life and her teachings are example for others to live a full and healthy life and to wake up and stop dying every day. She is a board member of PSSM Global, guiding the team and adding her energies. She is here with us to talk about the power of heart. Hearty welcome, Temple. Temple, I think you're muted.
There we go. How's that? Thank you for having me. I'm truly honored to be with you and be part of this process. Just for clarification, how long would you like me to speak? Because you wanted some Q&A time. So how long would you like for me to share?
We want you to talk for longer, but considering today's time, definitely the last 10 minutes is going to be the question and answer, Ms. Temple.
Got it. Okay. All right. Well, I just want to say what an honor it is. And the day I met Patraji and Pari has been one of those most memorable days of my life. And I am honored to be on the board and to be part of this change in bringing pyramids and the awareness of meditation and plant medicine into the United States. So there's a statement in Jungian psychology that says that first we must realize that we are asleep. So then we may wake up. And when we wake up, then we die, so we can be born. We cannot be born until we die, and we cannot die until we wake up. I've always really identified with that statement in my life. It has challenged me and at times very much moved me to ask myself, where am I sleeping and in what ways am I awake? And in that consciousness, what that looks like. To me, one of the, I think the deepest missings of our Western world is that so many people are taught to believe that there is only one life and this is it. This is all we have. We have it. Let's come. Let's do what we can. Let's take all we can or do all we can or whatever. And this is it. The being awake is understanding that you have had many lifetimes and that this is one of many, and that karma is something that is immediate in your life, and it is the guiding tool in which you live, in which you move, and in which you have your being. And that was one of the greatest moments when I realized that I had been sleeping, is because I had adapted as a child a lot of people's belief systems that were not my own. And in many different ways of looking at life and many philosophies and many religions and many levels of spirituality, I think we can all agree that it's done unto us as we believe. And so the waking up for so many people, the necessary aspect is for people to wake up to ask themselves, what do I really believe? And in what ways am I practicing and modeling those belief systems? And that was huge for me in recognizing that within myself, I had to have a great resurrection. I had to die. I had to come into a new awareness that for many years in my life, I had not lived a life that was my own. I was doing what the doctor said, or what my parents said, or what the preacher said, or what somebody else said, and not being free and the intuitive and the mystical side of my own life and my own awareness. So I think that when we look at coming from the place of an open heart, we want to make sure that we are following the heart and the passion that is our own and not somebody else's, and to be in alignment with that. In my book, 8 Steps to Stop Dying Every Day and Start Waking Up, I started using that as a true guideline with the actions and the courses of my life that I take each and every day. Is this going to give me more life, or is this going to cause me to die a little? And of course, I'm talking energetically. I'm not talking a physical death. I'm talking an energetic one. My deeper belief is that we are born in this life with a tremendous amount of energy, a vibrancy beyond measure, a life force that cannot be matched, an original imprint and fingerprint and connection of our magnificence. And from that experience, then we are taught through years of our society that you become less than, you go through phases in your life, you go through chapters, you have less and less energy, and then you die. For me, it's the opposite belief that I believe that we are here to not only sustain our energy, but we are here to have more energy than we ever have. And by the time we die, we are as vibrant as we were in all the days that we were living. And we have met too many people on our planet that have actually proven that to be true, and that awareness that it's true. But it's about waking up, dying old belief systems, so we can really ask ourselves, why do I believe this? Who am I listening to rather than myself? And so that's a great process. And often people will say, well, I don't know what I believe. And I always say, look at your life. Listen to your conversations. Listen to how you're communicating. Listen to how you're allowing other people to communicate with you. And that's a clear sign and a clear telltale to what you believe, because everything you look at that's in your life, you have made an agreement for it to be there. And so if you have less energy in your life, then the question is on you, not the universe. The universe is vibrant. The birds are singing, the animals are dancing. There's so much life around us to be had. So if you are lacking energy, it's not the universe, it's not nature, it's the fact that somehow something within you is closed off, something within you is not opening up. And often it can be as simple as that you need to go into a vegetarian lifestyle, because I really feel that we are not created to eat things that are not plant medicine, and so we just come into that awareness and whatever tools that we need to look at where is our energy going. We have people that are taught all over the world that that they're going to get old, and just anticipate getting old. And people will say, well, what are you saying, Temple, as a spiritual leader? Do you not believe that we are going to physically die this lifetime? Absolutely, of course we are. Unless somebody comes up with a magic pill, we're definitely going to die this lifetime. We're going to die. There's no doubt we're going to have a physical death. But what I'm saying is, energetically, we don't have to die at all. energetic we can be a 12, 15, 30-year-old in an 80, 90, 100, 110-year-old body, right? But we have been taught that. So I believe in aging, but not getting old. And when we look at people of any age, whether they're 20, whether they're 16, whether they're 30, whether they are 90, when you look at people and you identify them and your instinct tells you, wow, they're old. Oh my, they're already old. We know that that is not measuring of years. It's about somebody's inability to wake up and truly live. I have a good friend of mine that on Easter Sunday, so April 12th of this year on 2020, one of the greatest resurrections that we've ever lived on our planet, my good friend asked me to marry him and his new bride. He's 91 years old, as is she. They're 91 years old. And someone said to her along the way, they said, I noticed that you're starting to lose weight. Are you okay? Are you all right? And she said, I fell in love. I fell in love. And we did everything. I mean, we're talking wedding dress, we're talking flowers, we're talking celebration, we're talking energy, because that is what life is designed to be. Life is designed to be for the continuation of the living. One of the tools that I started practicing years ago is I started, and it came from when I used to travel globally as a stress manager teacher. And I thought to myself, if I'm going to teach stress management, I want to make sure that I'm modeling that when people see me in public settings or in a workshop, that I'm not like that, that I'm exemplifying that I'm so stressed out. And one of the tools that I use is that when I get really upset about something or something is weighing deeply on my heart, I ask myself, is this going to make my 45-minute speech? At the end of my life, when someone is there to speak about me and tell who I was in their eyes and in their filter, and they're going to share my sacred story of me, are they going to mention this particular incident that has me so concerned and worried and having many, many sleepless nights? And I will tell you that just about 95 to 98% of the time, the answer has been no. The answer has been no. This is not worth giving this a day of my life. Now, I know that people will want to argue and want to defend and justify their situation, and they want to defend why it needs to take away from their life, or they'll say, well, I don't know. I don't really believe I caused this. I've been doing the meditation practice that Patraji taught me. And, I'm vegetarian. I moved to the water side so I could have a calmer life. And I can't believe I caused that. I'm not an advocate for the need to spend time on assessing why you think or may not think why you have caused something. If something is in your life, it is in front of you. And so you can spend your whole life trying to figure out if you caused it or not, or you can simply look at it as a new friend and be aware of that it is there. What is the energy of what you cause or not is the ability to look at something in your life and say, is it worth an hour of my life? Is it worth a day of my life? Or is it worth the rest of my life? As a spiritual leader, I have met many people along the way, and I have done shamanic soul retrieval on many people along the way. And it's very interesting to me why people have energy loss. and the psychological and the philosophical reasons that they are either not forgiving, hanging on, unwilling to let go, you see. And it's what happens in my life is one thing. What I do with it in my life is entirely in my own consciousness and in my own awareness. So I had a strong awakening when I was 38 years old because I realized that my heart was closing. I realized that I had collected a database of disappointments, abandonment, unfortunate happenstance, years of alcoholism. I mean, I had a really long list, and I had started to close. I could feel my heart was hardening, if you will. It was closing down. I still had life force. I still had energy that I could run circles around most people, but there was a hesitancy for me to let people get close again. And so I realized that I had started a very intense aging, getting old process. And that is when I say that first you must realize that you are asleep so you can wake up, so you can die, so you can be born. Because I realized that a lot of my possibility thinking, a lot of my enthusiasm, a lot of my zest for life, and those disappointments and things that I had labeled that, I realized that I was seeing all of it the wrong way. I realized that I was seeing those events of, why did you take my joy from me? Why did you hurt me? Why did you affect me? Because again, I was believing in this old belief system that wasn't mine, but was somebody else's, that says, you know, you come into this life, you do the best you can, you give it all you got, you get a few bumps, and you just do your best to survive before you die. And I had, heard that around people and listened to their stories. Oh, I'm 40. Oh, that's why my leg hurts. Oh, I'm this, I'm that. Oh, I got mad at my teacher in 4th grade. That's why I'm this way. And I just had this great awakening. And I realized that, most people, they have it backwards. You're born one time, but you're reborn and you're birthed many, many times in this one lifetime. And the issues that come into your life don't come into your life to be against you or to tire you or to belittle you. They come to trigger your divine magnificence. They come to bring forth this great, holy, sacred, amazing, enlightened essence that has been lying dormant all along. And often it's a big thing. It's a big issue. It's a big traffic accident. It's a big drug addiction. It's a big, your child doesn't love you. It's a big something. It didn't come to close you up. It came to open your heart. It came to awaken this essence. It's likened to the story that I heard along the way that forever ago, when there were some soldiers coming in and they were coming upon a monastery, and they were coming upon the tribes. The Buddhist people had a beautiful gold Buddha, and they covered it up with clay, layers and layers and layers of clay, this precious, precious gift. And they had it, and it was hidden for hundreds of years, until one day along the way, a group of people were together, and one fell or something. It's been a long time since I told the story, but they became aware that there was something up under there. And they started digging and digging and digging, and they found that gold, precious Buddha. And so wherever you are in your life with the challenge that you identify at this moment that is so big in your life, it's because you're big and you're not totally in your life. And it has come to shock and awaken you to chip away all that clay that is preventing you from being this incredible person. And I invite you to do this exercise because I promise you, if you will take the time to do it, it will be transformative. And you may want to, write it off, because we think everything is supposed to be complicated. And this is a very, very simple exercise. I want you to go back, and every 5 years of your life, I want you to write down the events that you have in your mind as a story that kept you from being something, doing something, having something, achieving something. And I want you to take the time, take an afternoon to really get into this incrementally every 5 years. What do you feel kept you from something, from doing something, from being something, from achieving something? And write that down. And then I want you to go back, and I want you to look at it from an open heart, not a closed one. I want you to look at it from a fresh set of eyes, as if you were born right here and right now. And I want you to visit every one of those stories. And I want you to look at how that story shaped you into being, how that story created you into a sense of more of your authentic self, more of what you are designed and destined to be. Another example of that is that, so many people are on this pity pot of, 2020, we, oh my gosh, we had COVID, and, and now we have racism and yada, yada, yada. And it's the same belief system of, let me collect the stories that explain to me why I can't be something, why I can't do something, why I can't have something, and why I can't achieve something. I dare all of us to remember, at whatever level you consider yourself participating in this life experience, to not forget that just about every one of us had some kind of sweet little cute mantra coming into 2020. We're all like 2020 vision. Oh my gosh, 2020 magnificence, 2020 that we'll be able to see clearly. Well, we all invoked that, didn't we? We invited that in, and now look at where we are. Look at where we are, that COVID-19 will go on record. And it doesn't mean that it isn't unfortunate that people have given their lives to it. But COVID on an international level has made us realize that we can't do without each other. Though many of us know that already, often our hearts may not know that we cannot create walls to separate us, that we are one. We need each other. If the butterfly is flapping its wings in Australia, it affects the United States. If we're doing something in the United States, it's affecting all my brothers and sisters whom I love in India, or in Paris, or any other part of the world, or in any walk of life. We're being affected by that. It made us realize how small we are, really. And it also, probably for the first time in my human life, forced people to stop, to have the great stop, in order to have the great awakening. And when I was speaking to Patraji on the weekend of Easter, and we were talking about how this is the greatest resurrection that we've ever had. It's been amazing listening to the stories from people all over the world talking about how this time out, or time in, preferably time in, and just changing the pace of busy making, and always having the next place to be and go and do, and identifying with all these false labels and credentials and all that stuff. It's brought people into this place of, a lot of them are going I don't want to do the things I used to do. I don't want to participate in what I used to participate in. Oh, by the way, they didn't have hamburger at the grocery store. And I'm going, yay. And they say, so I've chosen to look at right now becoming a vegetarian. That's what the space of change can allow us. That's what the opening of the heart can allow us. As we change the narrative of our lives, we welcome what comes before us. We don't get into the illusion of controlling it. It's so interesting to me because people continue to say, when are we going to open again? When's our spiritual center going to open again? It's like, have no idea. Don't need to know. Our hearts are open. That's what we need to know. Our spirits are learning. That's what we need to know. We have more life than we've ever had. That's what we need to know. There's a statement by Plato that he says he doesn't know what is more fascinating. Children afraid of the dark or adults afraid of their own light. And I love that aspect of life, because to me, that is what keeps us childlike versus childish in our awareness, is that we learn to sit in what life brings us and face it and be open and say, teach me what I don't know. When you have an open heart, you're really living as a mystic. You know, I don't know where our relationship is going. I just know it's going. I don't know where things will evolve. I just know they'll evolve. And it's such a freeing way to live when your heart is open. Years ago, I had been saying out loud I was spiritual I was talking to God when I was 5 years old. And I didn't go through any intermediary. I didn't make an appointment. I didn't have to go to a particular altar. I just had a great conversation with that which made me. And I felt that energetic presence. And I got this tremendous download, you know, of how I could feel loved. But then I added all of these other aspects of my personality through the years and became quite somewhere between the critic and the perfectionist. And I started doing an exercise where I wrote down 50 things every day that I loved about myself. And I have to say, it goes on record to be one of the hardest things I've ever done, in even thinking of a few things. And there was some sadness about that. But as I pushed myself to do that exercise, I started becoming aware and deepening the grace that I was so fortunate to have this precious life. And I had obviously been necessary for this planet, because in the ways that I had lived through my years of being an alcoholic, there's really no explainable reason as to why I'm here. I mean, I know my guardian angels asked for reassignments many times. I know they did. I know they did. And I'm going to get a t-shirt that says, I survived myself. Because indeed I have. But the beauty of this exercise, and I did it for a number of years. I think I figured it out. It was like 4.5 years that I did this. But what happened is that when I revisited the stories of my life, where I felt like no one got me, or that I was identified as weird or odd or whatever all those labels were that I had created in my heart. What I realized is that was not the case at all. That love had been finding me from all corners of the world all of my life. And I simply needed to die so that I could be born, so that I could live in a space to actually experience that nothing or no one has ever been against any of us. And that has been part of this ongoing journey and this ongoing unfoldment. And I wouldn't trade any of this for anything, because it allows me to see in humanity how many people disconnect from nature and expect to be vibrant human beings. You know, how we expect to be vibrant when we're not connected to that which made us. So in that evolutionary process, there's a beautiful story, and it's true, of a man in New York that he became very ill. He was in his 40s and he was quite ill, and he had gone to many different specialists and trying to find out what was wrong. And many specialists said, we have no idea, and we're actually concerned for your life. And so in that space, he came upon a naturalist, a naturopath, and this particular doctor said, when is the last time you've been outside, and when is the last time that you hugged a tree? And the man looked at him like, oh my gosh, what are you talking about? And he said, well, tell me, when is the last time you put your bare feet on the ground? And when is the last time that you have touched nature in any way? Example, like hug a tree. And the man said, I live on the 30th floor. I walk across a bridge. I can't tell you when I've been outdoors. And the man said, I want you for 6 months. I want you to go outside. I want you to put your feet on the ground. I want you to be in nature and then come back. And the man was healed. The man was absolutely healed. And that's why I love what we are all doing together through the facilitation of teaching a process of meditation, and through being a vegetarian, and through the essence of prayer, is that it's that we are bringing in the awareness of people knowing that they are connected. And connection is what keeps us awake. Did you want me to refer to the question, Swapna?
Yes, Miss Temple.
Okay.
No, we want to hear more from you. Please continue about what you were saying.
Okay. So in our society with technology, and we love it. I mean, we absolutely love it. I love technology because I wouldn't have probably flown to India to be with all of you, you know. What we're able to do right here, and it's just it's a great blessing. But the other part of it is that we want to realize the ways that we're more connected in some ways, and we don't want to create the energy that we're less connected in others. Nature is our space. Nature is our vibrancy. Nature is, we are born out of the earth, and we will return back. And so that is a key value to staying awake in your life, because in this humanity that I'm speaking of, in where you age but you don't grow old, I'm talking about a human being that is very connected to nature. And anytime you begin to feel somewhat limited, or your resources are small, or very little is available, you want to have a connection that brings you back to a place of believing in wholeness and believing in infinity. And when you are out near water, when you are out near the ocean, when you are near a lake, when you are looking at the visual of water, when you are out in the mountains, when you are seeing a flower that has 42 colors, and it takes your, it doesn't take your breath away, it gives you breath, then you are mindful in that moment of that infinite grace, that you have everything you need inside of you to come to a space of a new idea, of a new way of visualizing, of a new experience of what is possible in your life. And it's the willingness to allow. Somebody asked me one time, aside from the obvious of meditation and prayer, aside from the obvious of I am an advocate for life, I am an advocate for God, I'm not going to be ashamed of what gave me life. I'm not going to keep God in the closet. I'm not a homophobic God person. I'm not going to be ashamed to talk about what has gifted me with this life. But aside from all of those things, somebody asked me, what would you say has been one of your deepest awarenesses or accomplishments of your lifetime? And my answer is still the same. Somewhere along the way, I have become comfortable with myself. I have become comfortable with myself. And what that looks like as far as a practice is that you are really living in a way of likened to that of Buddhism, that you're into a place of detachment, not attachment. And there's an okayness and a permission to say, you know what, I really know very little. I mean, my best learnings is when I have known I really didn't know that much. It's the ability to incorporate the gentleness of like a childlike nature of being comfortable with yourself, because there's no one you need to please. You're not looking for someone to approve of you or think that you are special or are more important. You're simply comfortable with yourself. I mean, you look around at all our brothers and sisters, you know, the lizard or the dog or the other creations that, you know, God has. And I just doubt very seriously they spend a lot of time thinking about what the other one is thinking, you know, until they see us humans coming. Now that would be discerning. But to me, that is the best gift of spiritual practice, is when you become comfortable with yourself. There's nothing you're going to face that's going to cause you to lose yourself. No, it will create a space in which you gain more of your connection to God. There's not a person that's going to deny you or turn away from you, because here's the thing: the people that don't see you are leading you to the people that do, or the people that don't see you are forcing you to see yourself. You see, everything that we are trying to force to make happen out here, it's simply because we've not accepted that it has happened in here. Because when it's happened in here, you're comfortable. When it's happened in here, you're at peace. When it's happening here, it's COVID can come, hurricane can come, and trust me, I face a few of those. Things can come. You'll hear that a bunch of people don't like you. And instead of going, oh my gosh, I need to change my plan, I need to start talking about something different, rather than that, you say, oh, wonderful, I must be being real. It surprises me how many leaders, and we need many more. We need many more leaders on the planet today. But it always surprises me how many leaders are still hung up with needing people's approval. It will never be effective as long as we're needing someone else's approval, because we're not really fully expressing that which we are guided in spirit to express. Years ago, I had been sober about 5 years. And up until that time, I was just a kid. I was in my early 30s, and I didn't use notes because I didn't want to be a note reader. I wanted to share from my heart when I would talk to people, but I did a lot of preparing. And so I would write out 22 pages of notes. I mean, we didn't have computers back then. I'd write out 22 pages of notes, big letters, big flare pens, different colors. And I would visualize and know that all of those notes would turn into probably about 30 minutes of talking. I wouldn't use the notes, but I had those notes down in my mind. I had listened to them, I'd recorded them, I had heard them, blah, blah, blah. So I'm invited as a guest speaker, and I'm up on the platform. I'm sitting in this chair and looking, and people are looking at me, and they are introducing me and telling them that I'm getting ready to come up. And I get a message that says, don't use your notes. Tell them about your struggle with alcoholism. And I'm like looking up, there's nothing up there, but I'm like looking up like, you're kidding me, right? I mean, get off my notes. But you know how we do, we want to argue, or defend our position. And I went, okay, yeah, absolutely. So I get up, my whole presentation changed, and I was blown away. I mean, it still makes me cry, because there were so many people that came up to me that day and told me that I wasn't supposed to be here today, but my friend invited me, and I've been having problems for years, and I've never heard anybody talk about it. There were people crying because they realized that they had been sleeping and they had become addicted in their own lives. And I can still feel that moment and all of that, and how important it is to experience and express in the moment that you're in, and to be comfortable with that reality, because the very nature of the people that you are with, whether it's your family, your relatives, a gathering, a picnic, a holy place, a sacred place, a shrine, a pyramid, it doesn't really matter where you are. It matters that you are there. It matters that you have this space of being comfortable, that you recognize the majority of what you are there to do is to show up and be. And those are some of my thoughts for this particular day at this particular time.
Wow, thank you. That's beautiful, Temple. Thank you so much for sharing